Hey y'all, I'm Angela Walters and this is the Midnight Quilt Show. Tonight, I'm making a celebratory quilt to commemorate a quilter's rite of passage. That's right, I'm going to Quilt Festival in Houston. This pattern is designed by yours truly, me, and it's free. Let's get to it. What is Quilt Festival? I'm glad you asked. It's a magical place where the streets are paved with pre-cuts and the bobbins are never empty, and I can't wait to go. So I'm making a quilt to take with me, and I'm using pre-cut fabrics so I can rock out with my block out. Let's open it. We know this is my favorite part. There we go. And look at that, just like that, I have a stack of 10-inch pre-cut squares. It's almost like I've accomplished something already today. Look at this, it has such bright, fun colors. It's really gonna pop off of that white background I'm gonna put with it. But right now, I just need 2 of the same prints. So let me see what color I wanna start with. And I choose you, hot pink, and let's get to making our block. So what I'm gonna do is use 2 of my pre-cut squares and then 1 square of a solid fabric, and then I'm going to magically turn this into 8 half-square triangles and some blocks. I've been working on my magic tricks. We know I'm good at making wine disappear, so let's see if I can't do some magic to make this turn into blocks. Ready? Hocus pocus. Okay, I guess I better just sew them together. I'm gonna set one of these aside for right now. I'm gonna keep it pretty close, and I'm gonna use the 8 at a time half-square triangle method to make this into 8 half-square triangles. Of course, that's nothing unique to me, but it is a handy way to make a lot of blocks quickly. On the back of this fabric, I'm gonna mark a line diagonally on both sides. Good to know I can still draw a straight line. Here we go. So I have my lines marked. I'm gonna put my 2 blocks right sides together and then sew a 1/4 inch on each side of those lines so that I can make my half-square triangles. Now I'm gonna trim on the lines, add a couple extra cuts, and this is where the fun really happens. I'm gonna use my rotating mat. It's kind of like a little turntable. It's kind of like I'm, preparing for a quilt rave or a fun festival. My first cut is gonna be right down the middle on the vertical and the horizontal, and then I'm gonna cut on the lines. All right, now it's time to cut on the lines. This mat really does make it so easy so I don't have to reposition the block. So I may have just cut that up like a pizza, but it's even better than a pizza. It's 8 half-square triangles. Isn't that fun? I feel a little bit like Bob Ross. There's a happy half-square triangle and another happy half-square triangle. And since I already have the rotary cutter handy, I'm gonna go ahead and cut up my other square into 4 smaller squares. And since I'm already at it, let's go ahead and trim up these half-square triangles and make them nice and square. So let's see how all these blocks come together for the All Roads quilt. So I'm gonna put these aside for right now, pull out my first half-square triangle. This one's gonna get a nice little frame around it, so maybe it's the better one that you made. And I'm going to put some white fabric on top and on the left and the right. It's kind of like it needs to be its own little special block. It needs a little frame around it. Guys, I just have to say, I think I picked out the perfect complementary nail polish to go with that pink. It's almost like I knew I was gonna be doing this tonight. There's the first part of the block. I'm gonna use a couple of my half-square triangle blocks, a couple of my squares, and the block's gonna really come together. 2 on the angle like that, then it gets a solid one, and then another half-square triangle just like that. So what I'm going to do is sew these together, and put it all together to make my finished block. First block is finished, and I used all those leftover pieces to create the second block, which looks a lot like the first, hopefully. That means it turned out right. And now all I have to do is get it nice and pressed. I just have to figure out what kind of soak flatter I want to use. I always pick my scents depending on the mood for the night. So this is scentless. Smells like nothing. Maybe not for today. How about fig? Subtle notes of happiness mixed with sweet dreams. But I think the one I'm actually gonna use is a celebration. Not because it's pink like the block, I would never do that, but because it smells like happiness and festival and all sorts of good quilty things. Since I've sprayed this, I don't want to stretch the fabric out. I just want to give it a nice press and keep those seams nice and flat. And what I love about it, it's kind of like the finishing touch to the block. It makes everything look just a little bit better. You know, if your seams aren't perfectly straight, not that I know what that's like at all. And I might even flip it over. Oh, it's kind of scary back there. We'll just turn it back this way and press it from the top. There we go. I love the smell you get when you put that heat on there. It smells so nice and fresh. Definitely smells a little bit better than I'm smelling right now. But it's a shirt, it's a fabric freshener, right? Okay, block 1, done. And then block 2. I love how this is called flatter because it's flattering me right now. It's saying, why, Angela, your piecing looks so great. Thank you. Okay, well, I finished that one up. It's time to pick out my next grouping of colors and make a lot more of these blocks. I better get to it. All right, I have a nice stack of blocks and I get to play around and find out which arrangement I want to use, which is always fun. It's like a choose your own adventure. I could arrange 4 of these into one larger block. What's nice is all these blocks are square. Whoever designed this was a genius. These blocks are square, so the orientation doesn't matter. So you can play around and find what looks good to you. Might be kind of fun to come up with some different orientations. But I think the look that I'm gonna go with is just your classic ones all in a row. Let's see, I like the pink right there. Maybe some yellow. I'll have 3 of them facing the same way, and then maybe have the other 3 face the other way. And this might look like a solid piece of fabric, but it's actually a block with a low volume print in it. And slide it right over there. I have my row of 6, it's time to sew them together. The quilt top is finished, and I'm loving how the fabric placement and the blocks themselves make this medallion look. It's gonna be so much fun to quilt. Now, before I get to the quilting, a quick note about the pattern. The way I wrote the pattern, it uses matching pairs of 10-inch squares. I'm a poet and didn't even know it. Some of the bundles of 10-inch squares might have a different amount of prints, so you might play around with it and see if yours looks a little scrappier, or you might wanna buy multiple bundles. But enough about that, I wanna get to the quilting. And what I love about the layout of this pattern is that it has these diagonal lines coming in. And I'm gonna use quilting designs that really emphasize that. Ooh, I just have to make a quilt sandwich and get to it. Okay, so let's see how this is going. So I quilted that ribbon candy design in that strip of fabric, and I'm not really loving it. Unfortunately, that happens from time to time. You would think that being a professional machine quilter means I would always like what I do, but I just feel like it doesn't look quite right in that area. But I'm not ripping it out, believe me. You never become a better quilter by ripping out the quilting. What I'm gonna do is just leave it and switch to a different design. But I'm not gonna let that be the only one. I'm gonna do it again somewhere else on the quilt, right? Because once is a mistake, but twice is a design choice. So I'm gonna leave this behind right now and try to figure out a different design that's gonna work in another area of the quilt. So instead of quilting the ribbon candy, I think I'm gonna do a more swirly design. What can I say? I love swirls. And it's gonna start with a line that curls in on itself, and then I'm gonna echo back out to a point, back, and then finish that swirl. And what I love about this is as I quilt these swirls, making my hooks and my points, it's gonna really fill in this area nicely. And I can just work my way from one point to the next, filling in that whole area. All right, let's see how this is looking. Yeah, I'm liking the swirls a lot more. I don't know if it's because I'm a swirl girl or just because I'm feeling in a swirly kind of mood. I don't know, but I love how that looks. So I think I'm gonna keep going on quilting these swirls in those diagonal lines. And like always, I put together some free quilting diagrams that will show you how I quilted this quilt. They include a turn in early option, which is a quicker quilting option, or an up all night in case you want to put just a little more effort into your quilt. So my all rose quilt is finished, and I love how it turns out, even if the quilting didn't start out exactly like I wanted it to. But I think the thing to remember is that a finished quilt is always better than a perfect quilt top. Now I'm practically ready for festival. I have my quilty clothes, my cute yet sensible shoes, and all I have to do is get there. Are you going to festival? Be sure to let me know in the comments section and stop by Crafty's booth and say hi. I can't wait to meet all of you. And since it's the festival season, I'll be taking a little break. But don't worry, I'll be back in a few weeks with more Midnight Quilt Show. So be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss the next episode, and leave a comment letting me know what you think. See you then. And I think I deserve another little taste.